Coming up on the I'm a Car Chick podcast.
With guest Stacy Maxwell.
There still is a very large labor shortage, so millions of jobs are needed in cybersecurity, millions of individuals to go into cybersecurity to help protect businesses throughout the world against these bad actors. The threats, the ransom, it's just happening faster. Sharing passwords or not changing your password.
All the that drive us batshit crazy.
Yes, but it's taking that pause and saying, okay, yep, let me just click it in. It's going to be kind of like locking your door on your house so nobody can break in. So the number one way that the bad actors are getting in still to this day is phishing attacks.
Revving up the auto industry, one conversation at a time. Featuring industry leaders, auto experts, and trailblazers. We are bringing you unfiltered interviews highlighting the voices all around the industry. Let's cut through the noise. Join us. Let's light it up together. Hosted by Shasta Haddock. This is I'm a Car Chick podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the I'm a Car Chick podcast. And I'm pretty excited about the guest that I have for you today. And I'm thinking that I'm going to get to learn something alongside you guys. So I hope that you guys are ready. Today's guest, I'm going to bring her up. Her name is Stacy Maxwell. Hi, Stacy.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. I'm very excited for this conversation. Like I said, I feel like I'm going to learn a lot in this, and I know that whenever I learn a lot, that the guests do too, or the listeners do too. So I'm pretty excited about this. And our topic today is cybersecurity, and of course, you are the technology solutions consultant at One Step Secure IT.
Yes.
Which to people not in the IT world, we're like, what does that all mean? So we're gonna dive into that. We're gonna dive into what you do, what your experience is. You have such an expansive experience in the automotive industry. And so I'm excited to talk about that. I love getting to talk to women in tech because that portion for women is even smaller than just women in automotive. So this is going to be awesome. I'm really excited. Cybersecurity is one of those things that dealerships know they should care about, but usually don't until something breaks. Yes. And I know that that's kind of your forte, and you're like, I'm here to help the dealerships be prepared ahead of time. We've obviously in this industry seen a lot of scares. And you grew up in a dealership and now you're in cybersecurity. How did that come to be?
I know when I was growing up, I didn't think I would be here, but here I am. My grandpa, well, first of all, I grew up in a very small southern Colorado town, not a lot of people, and he had a car dealership there. So I grew up playing hide and go seek on the car lot, after the softball games and getting the keys out of the car at night, washing the cars for money to go to the movies. So I grew up there and then worked for my dad before moving to a bigger dealership where I stayed for about 15 years and loved it. I mean, the car business takes a piece of your heart. And so I really liked it, but I did get the opportunity to pivot into technology and work for kind of a startup SaaS company, so software as a service company, and I was there for about 10 years, growing with them, and I really saw a need for people that needed cybersecurity. There wasn't a lot of information out there. It's a new concept. And I just saw how devastating it can be for small businesses, large businesses across the country. And I really wanted to be able to work with a company that we can help people be more proactive against it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I want to go back a little bit to, when your grandfather had his dealership. Did you ever see a lot of women working in the dealership back then, or any at all?
No, I mean, it was my grandma sat there and she, of course, did like the bookkeeping and stuff like that. But as far as sales or service aspects of it, there weren't a lot of women at that time, even when I moved to the larger dealership, years later.
So what was that transition like? You're growing up around the dealership. It's part of your family, part of your life, part of your everyday. You said you're playing hide and seek there. when did that finally like click for you of I could do this, I could be a part of this, this could be my career is in this space? Because as children we don't often think about it, we're surrounded by something. So
Yeah.
when was that kind of click for you?
I would say, as I grew up and got my work ethic from my grandpa and my dad and learned about what made businesses run, and it was partnerships, right? The partnerships that we had within the community. And so that kind of always stuck with me is that really is like building that and thriving off those partnerships to be a successful business was something that stuck with me and that I've always taken forward in my career. So even though I branched out of the family business, away, I took those skills that I developed and applied them to just, you know, secure those partnerships, work together with people in the community, and grow together and scale your operations.
Well, and I think that that's something that us as women connect with a little bit more because we, historically we spend a little bit more time with the kids. We have them involved in like in baseball and their schooling and all of that stuff. So we get to see firsthand, what those community partnerships look like on the other side a lot of the times because we're out there with them all the time.
Yes, and how powerful they can be. I wouldn't have been successful in the car industry if I didn't have my tribe of people helping me along the way. Like the I called her my daycare lady, even though she's one of my best friends now. She watched my kids. I was there late. I was an hour away from the dealership. I didn't get off till 9, and I couldn't have been successful without her. So there's definitely that community that helps you and supports you as you grow.
Well, as they say, it takes a village.
It does take a village. I could attest to that.
It does. I mean, my own family, like we don't have a lot of family here. Like already, we don't have a lot of family on my mom's side, anyways, and there's not a lot of them here. And then my husband's side of the family is the same way. Like we have two members of his immediate family here, and I mean, we get some help from them, but yeah, it absolutely takes a village especially when it comes to raising kids.
Yes. And I think that's kind of where, so I grew up in a small town and then just recently in the past couple years moved to Phoenix. So this huge city. So I'm this small town girl. And that's really what, my goal is for myself is to establish what I had back there within the Phoenix metro area. And I've met some wonderful people, built wonderful partnerships. And so it's exciting to be able to recreate that here and, in a different capacity.
And it's so hard, like I moved, not necessarily to Phoenix, but I'd moved to, like Santan Valley. So a
Oh,
little bit
okay. Yeah.
there, right after high school. And like, number one, moving from the Midwest to the desert was already a thing. 'Cause, like, you're like, where's all the grass? But also like, there's so many things to see and be a part of that, like, it's hard to experience that because you're used to like, oh, I have my favorite coffee shop, I have my favorite place to go to lunch, and yet then you come to a big city and you're like, there's 1,000 options. How do I
Yeah.
choose?
How do you choose? And how do you put yourself out there and put yourself outside of your comfort zone um, to be able to gain what you want to accomplish? So,
Yeah. We recently got involved with two of the local chamber of commerces in our county, and there's places that I mean, I've lived here almost my whole life, and there's places that I'm learning about and businesses I'm learning about that I never knew existed, and it's like I need to get out of the house more apparently because holy crap, had no idea.
you get wrapped up in your day to day and you forget to look around, yeah, until you're out of your environment and you
Mhm.
pause and you're able to take a look and learn something new, and be curious about
Mhm.
what's going on.
I like that. I like to be curious.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I am curious. So you worked in a dealership for quite a while and held several different positions. What do you think was the most important lesson growing up in a dealership and then working in a dealership taught you?
Yeah, I'll go back to the relationship piece. I loved my customers when I worked in the dealership. I mean, that is how I built my really my book of business there was I had a lot of repeat business over the years. I had this crazy like mind where I could remember the exact car that they traded in 3 years ago and the color and the miles and everything about it. And so just connecting with people in that way, helping them solve a problem, and seeing their.
Did you know that there's a monthly newsletter where you can keep in touch with everything that I'm a Car Chick podcast is up to? There is. Check out the show notes below, and you can also follow us on all social media and stay in tune with whatever we're up to.
Car sales is fun. You get a lot of stories. There's excitement and there's some stories that are sad.
Yeah.
Bad things happen to people and they're in a tight position. And so that's where, relying on your resources and your partnerships to be able to present the best solution for them to move forward in a confident way. That's what I really, really enjoyed.
Well, and I think people on the dealership side, because we do it so many times a day, we forget how emotional this is. And it's not just, we hear all the time, well, car buying is the second biggest decision you'll ever make. Number one, whoever just buys one car. But it's not the same as buying a house. Like,
Right.
we're doing it more frequently, but the emotion behind it, like all of the memories you have in your vehicle, those times when you have to rush your kid to the emergency room, or there's women who have babies in cars. I mean, it is a very emotional connection to your vehicle. And so the process of trading that in, or not getting the value of that, and then having to deal with some of the stuff we have to deal with at the dealership, like relationships are so important.
Yeah. Yeah, you hit it. I mean, I think as Americans, we spend more time in the cars than probably any other country in the world. And you're right, a lot of life happens in our cars, especially now with the connectivity aspect. You're um, multitasking or, you're doing things, living in your car, commuting. And so, yeah, it is most times, people don't trade their cars in all the time. Some people do, every few years, but most people you run into, especially in a small town, it's like, yeah, it doesn't, happen every day. And you kind of have to walk them through that and reassure them. And when you're working for a good auto group and a good dealership that has that compassion, it makes it easier to do business that way. And so
Yeah.
I lucked out on that.
No, it's not luck. You put in the work.
You're right. Yeah, I did. I did work very hard. I put my husband through college, put my 3 kids through daycare, I would say, and learned a lot about myself.
I love it. I love it. So when you got taking it back to the tech and what you're doing now, when you got into tech, what made you realize that dealerships weren't as protected as they think?
So I think it really was like the CDK breach that happened a few years ago. It kind of put a spotlight on dealerships or on the automotive industry, right? Like, oh, wow, there's a lot going on. And I knew I could just see the trickle effects from where I was. There wasn't a lot of resources for fraud or cybersecurity attacks, and there still is a very large labor shortage. So millions of jobs are needed in cybersecurity, millions of individuals to go into cybersecurity to help protect businesses throughout the world against these bad actors. And especially with AI coming into the picture, the threats, the ransom, it's just happening faster. Um, and so, yeah, I just saw a need in the industry. And I've been working with small to enterprise level businesses across the country for, over a decade. And it's heartbreaking when they put their heart into this technology, and technology is wonderful. And it really can help businesses grow and scale and accomplish the goals that they want. And when they implement that and then a bad actor takes that down, that growth, it's heartbreaking. So that's, working with a good company with the right individuals. You can stay secure. You can grow and scale your business. Your technology partner should be a partner, and they should be there with you every step of the way as you're weaving this technology into your dealership. And that's really what you need to try to find.
What are some of the things that dealerships are doing on a day-to-day basis or more frequently than they would realize that, make you lose sleep at night? Like, the biggest mistakes that you see?
I would say like sharing passwords or not changing your password or not implementing the multi-factor authentication on everything.
All the
Just
that drive us batshit crazy.
yes, right. And that's the part. I mean, you said it perfectly. It's crazy. It's like, why do I have to do this? Like, I just want to get to my next task. But it's taking that pause and saying, okay, yep, let me just click it in, because you'll get better at it. You're going to get faster at it. It's going to be kind of like locking your door, and setting your alarm now on your house so nobody can break in. So the number one way that the bad actors are getting in still to this day is phishing attacks. So you're clicking on the wrong thing. And that's where I would say dealerships need to bring more security education, and train their employees and make it top of mind. And then I'll be able to sleep through the night.
Whose role at the dealership typically does cybersecurity fall on, like ensuring that everything is up to standard?
So that's a good question. So really it's an executive level. Like they need to assume the risk, and they need to analyze what that looks like within their dealership. So a lot of dealerships that I talk to, their IT guy is handling it. Um, the IT guy is there to keep operations up and running, things going, technology working, people being productive. You need to have somebody separate to be looking at the security piece. That individual is looking at protecting your data. And the crown jewels of a dealership is their data, right? That's what they need to protect, and so that should be their job. Putting it on the IT guy is not fair, because one, it's kind of like the fox in the henhouse, right? Like he keeps everything running. If we introduce a new security that's a pain in the butt or whatever that you don't want to do, and people don't like it, maybe he's like, well, we don't really need it. We got to keep these things going. So having that kind of checks and balances in place is really important.
Yeah. Where do you think that dealerships think they're safe, but they're not?
So like access. So having, you have certain, executive level, leadership level should have certain access to different things, and then sales or service advisors have different access. You look at some dealers and they have multiple admin users, which if one of those admin users gets hacked, or their password or whatever gets compromised, they can get in and get to everything. So it's reviewing those accesses, putting the right policies in place, and then being proactive. So you really have to, we call it tools and talent. So you're going to have all the tools in place, but you have to have the talent behind that and running that security piece for the dealership.
Well, and it makes me think back to when we were on the BDC side of things, and obviously whoever's running your BDC, needs a strong level of access to the CRM, not necessarily to the DMS, but the CRM to be able to, adjust workflows or whatever. And it makes me think back to how some of these CRM companies are not doing things properly. Like to my knowledge, there's still not whenever you're creating a user inside of a CRM, you don't have the option to specify whether that person works at the dealership or as a vendor. Like
Yeah.
you just have to set them up as a user, as an employee. Whereas, having some sort of connector piece in the middle, like companies like Authenticom are for the DMS, I think that would actually make a really big difference and be able to um be that in between piece, with lower access. I mean, but God, I've had dealers that didn't want to do anything at all in their CRM, and it literally asked me to do everything whenever I would, be acting as their BDC manager, like talking to vendors for them, or pulling data for them to send them for something else for a whole other vendor. And it's like it is a high level of trust. And I mean, there's definitely a lot more that the CRM companies can do to help without making our lives tremendously harder.
Yeah. And I would say, I mean, you bring it up a good point. You need to have a vendor assessment policy in place. You need to vet out the vendors, and that's where that security person that knows cybersecurity is going to question, okay, this data, where is it going? How long is this vendor going to have the data? What are they going to be doing with our data? And then classifying that data into very highly sensitive data that we don't want to get out, public information that we don't care to use, and then working with that. I mean, there's ways, we're working with a lot of third-party vendors that support the auto industry, and they want like a security certification. They want us to come in and make sure that they, that they have the right security approach to be able to handle the information that they want to do for the dealers, so that
This episode is brought to you by SCP Agency, your one-stop shop for organic social media. Check them out by clicking the link in the show notes or visit scpagency.com.
they can use their technology in a secure way. So definitely seeing an uptick in that kind of that request.
Well, and I mean, honestly, when you look at the amount of vendors that each dealer has, I mean, we've got to be looking almost 20 plus just on either lead providers or, marketing arms, whatever it may be. I mean, that's just, and making sure that, I mean, not like you said in the beginning, like not all what they need access to, but after they're gone, after you end that contract, making sure you revoke their access. Like I have dealerships that never kicked me off of their Facebook page from 4 years ago that probably have no idea that I still have access. And it's those things, or, never shut off our CRM access. And it's like, if I wanted to, or if I got hacked, like that would
you got, not even, and that's the kind of that spotlight that happened with CDK. And then you just saw 700 credit and Car Gurus, right? Those just happened in the last 6 months. So those third-party vendor breaches, like that's the spotlight, right? That's where they're going to go get in because of everything you just said. So it's reviewing those accesses constantly and making sure they're up to date and that you don't have that. We see that all the time. They'll come in, we'll onboard them and go through a complete audit of the system. And we're like, oh, did you know that actually, 20 of your devices didn't have any security controls on them? You forgot to install them, or whatever happened. They got busy, they got people up and running. So that's very important for the third party piece. And then the data that you said. So we saw, I think there was an article that just came out with Cox Automotive and VinQ. 2 third parties, they have data, and they ended that agreement. Now who does the data belong to?
right.
So it's
that was a wild announcement. I'm curious to see more on that, and kind of what the reasoning for that was, because I know VinQ, the whole team there very well, and I know how reputable they are and how responsible they are. So that was a very shocking announcement for me when I saw that they would be choosing it in that.
It was, a different perspective that I hadn't thought about. It's like, okay, yeah, really, who is getting this data when a partnership ends like that?
I'm curious to know, we're talking a lot about, vendor access and user access at the dealership, but GMs are busy, dealer principals are busy. They've got so many things going on. So, I mean, if we can tell them you need to take these 2 steps right now, what 2 steps should we be telling them to take?
So still there's the 3 main threats that we're seeing is the phishing. So you should have definitely an email policy in place that which I think most dealers do, but it's following through. We have the policy in place. Are we following through? Are our employees being educated on phishing and really having a company do the phishing simulation? Who is clicking on the emails, like getting that report and looking at it? I think that is going to reduce your liability risk by, 90% of attacks start with phishing. So if you can do multi-factor authentication, phishing training, simulation with your employees, and then business email compromises. So when you're doing emails, just focus on your emails. Don't be multitasking. Does this look right? If you get this gut intuition, like this seems off, question it. Did you really send me this email? Am I paying you now? Because they'll watch you. They know, who they know how to look at invoices and all that. And then social engineering. That's, calling on the phone, pretending to be your dealer principal or your bank. We had a dealership that the bad actor called in posing as a bank and got up through the phone call, got up, the ladder into the accounting department. And the gentleman was actually downloading what this caller said to do. And he didn't verify with his bank. And while he was on the phone downloading the chatbot that the caller said to do, the other bad actor called the dealer principal, because a lot of times you have to have 2 authentications for any money movement. And the dealer principal's on the phone, and he starts to do it, but his screen glitches, and it made him stop to think, like, okay, this isn't right. He shut down his computer, called his bankers, like, is there fraudulent activity? Is that why you're calling me? And the banker's like, no, everything looks good.
We didn't call you.
We didn't call you. And then in the background, their alerts are going off. They have tools, their alerts are going off, but nobody's watching the alerts. So they finally got to it, but they had to, it was a very expensive social engineering experience. So just pay attention when you're talking to people or people are posing. Yeah.
Well, and what's wild too is when stuff like this happens, like a lot of times it's a prosecutionless crime. Like tracking down who did it is next to impossible. So, asset recovery can be very difficult. Compensation for what happened can be very difficult. And so, I mean, it's just good to always stay hyper aware. And it's, like you mentioned, it's why we lock our cars when we get out of them. It's why we lock and alarm our house at night. It's why almost everybody has some form of video doorbell now, because we don't ever want to be left in that position where we don't have control or visibility.
Yes. And that's exactly what you just said, is our approach that we look at it as defense in layers, right? You're going to start with the education. You're going to start with the, hiring a company to be able to tell you what you need to do, what you need to put in place. And, you're going to have all these tools that are going to prevent, if they get in through the window, then the alarm goes off. If that doesn't deter them, I have a dog and the dog's going to go after them. And if that doesn't, then, you have to think of it as defense in layers.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we were talking about in the beginning was that not only have you been a woman in automotive, you are also a woman in auto tech, which is like doubly impressive because the male to female ratio is even smaller over there. So you're in two predominantly male industries, which is really cool. And I always love a babe in a man's world. What has your experience been like in automotive and cybersecurity?
I mean, really, like I'm a hard worker. I So I think just my approach to how I want to show up for the job and get the job done. I grew up ski racing, so I'm very competitive anyways. I don't like to be the last. I always, I wanted to be the best. They called me at the dealership when I was there Mad Maxwell because I would just start getting all these things going, selling multiple cars at the same time and whatever. But so I think, and I love to learn. I'm always curious. And I think that's where I'm genuinely interested in what you're saying. And I
Yeah.
want to learn how you do things. So I learned and I talked to the techs, the master mechanics when I was at the dealership. I wanted to learn the whole operations. That helped me sell better. So in tech, I wanted to learn integrations and transactions and processes and all of that. In cybersecurity, I want to learn, how are they getting in? What tools can we have? What is our approach to really be able to help these businesses?
How can we be 1% better every day?
Yes.
I love
And it
it.
is those small steps, not biting off the whole mountain, but doing the small steps really well, over time will make you really a subject matter expert.
Well, and I'll tell you that phrase or some variation of that phrase has come into my realm so many times over the past several months. And I always take it back to the nursery version of, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
And it's when we see these things that are just so daunting and big, and something like this, like I need to implement better cybersecurity at my dealership. How do I even start? I mean, the one step that you mentioned, the email security, the two-factor authentication, the reviewing access, the phishing training, all of those things are very important to the overall pictures.
Yes.
One step at a time.
One step and start having the conversations, because you're going to learn a lot. Start being curious about it and how it works at your dealership if you don't know. And,
You've made it this far, and I have to say thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to rate the show whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and of course on all social media channels. Light it up.
empower other people, empower other security champions through your dealership. Like they tell us with AI, right? You're going to have your individuals that know AI and are really going to be the champions for that AI technology that you're going to, implement. So find out who those people are and, empower them to help others. So the whole elephant doesn't have to fall on your shoulders. You're really sharing it around the table and having a stronger outcome.
Yeah, I love that. I always love that analogy, and anytime that we can use it, I jump on it
Yeah.
100%. You are also a part of another really important initiative, Drive Her Forward, and I wanted to make sure that we talk about that too.
Yes. So I met Katie Naughton at NADA, where I met you, and she just has a really great initiative going throughout the country, bringing women who want to, be better leaders, and creating a community where we can go. A lot of us are in the auto industry, supporting the auto industry or at the dealership level. And it was something that that wasn't available when I was just starting my career out. And through technology, I've always tried to improve my just improve myself, my leadership skills and things like that. And so she's really built a community where we have people that are just starting out and we have people that are my age, and we have great stories, we have challenges, we hold each other accountable. So I would suggest anybody that is interested or that wants to provide that at their dealership to go to her website and see that and sign up. And she has some really great content.
Do you guys do in-person events too, or is it just an online community?
So right now it's just no, she did do some in-person at NADA. But right now it's like online. We meet several times a month at different times. But yeah, I think, we're open to new things.
And if I remember right, I want to say that she's speaking at the upcoming Women in Automotive conference.
I think so.
And
Yes,
so-
I know she said that she got invited to a conference to speak. So that's really exciting. And I think she just did a podcast as well. So it's definitely growing,
That's
which is
awesome.
exciting to see.
Are you gonna attend Women in Automotive with her?
I hope so.
You should.
It's in July?
Yeah, July in Austin.
Yes. We did talk about it on our a few weeks back because I saw that it was I was like, we should go. We should do
Mhm.
it. So
Yeah, it sounds like it very much aligns with your mission, and I think would allow you guys the opportunity to connect with several hundred other, amazing women that are out there for the same mission.
yeah.
All right,
Okay,
quick.
well then I'll see you in Austin.
Yes, decided. I love it. I have just a couple of rapid fire questions, so this will
Okay.
be super easy, quick, good to go. What is the biggest tech myth in dealerships?
The biggest tech myth, let's see. Right now, like we're too small to get hacked. It's not going to happen to us.
Ooh, that's a good one. Something dealers think they need but don't.
More tools without the talent running those tools.
Love that. Biggest red flag when you walk into a store.
So, I would say like my CISSP, we did a physical penetration test, so where we actually went to the dealership, and he walked in, collared shirt, hat on, clipboard, and somebody was like, "Hey, can I help you find somebody?" No, I'm good. Went over to a empty computer and was taking it apart and pretty much almost walking out with it before somebody really asked for his identification and all of that. So there's a saying that we have, trust but verify. So trust that person, but let's verify who they are, who they're here to see. It's amazing. He's gotten into record rooms, parts, and before people really questioned what he was doing.
Good heavens, that's scary.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that every GM should stop doing immediately?
Stop doing immediately. I would say not taking the time to look at what's going on. So for instance, one dealership we have I think it's maybe like a 3 rooftop that we do security for. They had 28 alerts in one day. So meaning 28 times somebody tried to get into their network in one day. So are you reviewing who's trying to break in? Where are they coming from? Like just start to be engaged and have those conversations.
That's 28 is a lot in one day.
Yeah, and that's not even a big, it's a 3 rooftop, but you think the bigger you get, you're a bigger target. So yeah,
Jeez.
28 in one day is you need somebody watching that.
Yeah, 100%. If you could leave anybody, I always say a young woman just entering the space, or really anybody in the industry with specific focus on those fresh to the industry or people who are thinking about joining the auto industry, some advice. What one piece of advice was the greatest advice you ever received that you think is worth passing down?
Looking back at it, finding your community that's going to support you as you grow. I think, and listening to you and where you want to be, I think is I wish I had that kind of direction when I was just starting out. So getting involved with communities like Drive Her Forward or whatever you have in your town, city, and I think that really will empower a woman in her career.
Yeah, 100%. And what is the best place for people to connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn, which is new for me, but I have, fully embraced getting myself out there and putting myself out of my comfort zone. So yeah, LinkedIn, I guess.
I love that. And then what is the if we want anybody to walk away from this episode and say, I know when I have XYZ issue that I need to call One Step. What is that issue that you want them to have your phone number on speed dial?
Well, I would say be proactive. So if you don't know what your baseline looks like, find out where your baseline is and what your risk priorities are for the year. And if you don't have a cybersecurity professional in your life, go find one and, just have a conversation with them. They'll let you know, where you need to be. But I would do the trust but verify. You trust everything's working, but how are we going to really verify that our approach is keeping us secure and protecting the crown jewels, which is our data?
Well, and a conversation is always free. So
Yes. Yeah.
Learning more, getting to find out, what the health of the union is always free. So reach out. Everybody could use more security in their life. I mean, I know I'm sitting here thinking like, God dang it, that one password that I've used for 15 years, I should probably change that now.
Yes, and I would say I just ran a dark web scan for one of the dealerships that I work for that I'm talking with, and we do it all the time. We monitor the dark web every day. So if an alert comes, our clients know, but it was, tied to the recent third-party breaches, and they need to change their password, because if you're reusing the password and now your password's out on the dark web, well, they may not be able to get into that third party, right? That third party application, because you've changed it. But if you use it for several others, they're going to go try all of that.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, you just have to.
I keep getting this pop-up on something. I don't know if it's Google Chrome or something else, but I never paid any attention, but it says this password may have been compromised, and it's like that one password that I use for like half my
stuff. So please change your passwords.
Good.
And if you worked with, and you should change your password every 90 days. I use a password vault. It's amazing. I only have to remember one password, and then it has all my other passwords stored. And it creates the password. So I never know what my password is going to be, and then I'll change it every so often. So a password vault is and it's another one of those, like the multi-factor authentication. It gets faster with time and you're more secure. So if you want me to run your domain on the dark web, I'd be happy to do that.
No, offline.
Let you know which passwords you have to change.
I don't want to know all of them. I know it's all of them. This was such a good conversation. I knew I was going to learn stuff, and when you have me walking away like, okay, I need to implement this. Working a dealership, that's when I know. So I really appreciate this conversation.
I appreciate it also.
So glad that I got to meet you, especially in ADA, even though it was brief.
I know.
This is good conversation. So I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, be sure to check out Stacy on LinkedIn, connect with One Step Tech, and start doing better when it comes to your cybersecurity so that you don't ever have to have
me on speed dial.
Exactly. Yes, that too. So we will see you guys next time on the I'm a Car Chick podcast.
Bye.